many labs where young group leader labs that where the PI is female. At the beginning, you have a strong bias of female people in your group. And so, in fact, like I could have easily built up my entire group only with female members. And so I actually I really was looking specifically at the applications for male applicants to see like is this somebody I could also like recruit, or is it really am I preferring the other candidate? So this is just something that I think has been, I don't know, I mean, from, again, like only from talking without any numbers, is perhaps a recurrent theme that like sort of you gain more sort of, at the beginning you're actually more kind of female biased in the lab, and then you become more, you get also male applicants, which is something I think an interesting dynamic if that's really true. So why is that the case? So
it's the two ways, right? It's that less boys apply to your lab as well. I've seen that.
Yeah.
For me, I had exactly the same issue. There's mostly girls in my lab, not because I chose so, but because a lot of girls apply to my lab.
So for me, it was opposite. I had more boys in at the beginning.
Again,
really,
that's why I'm sure there are many.
All postdocs are boys by chance.
I don't know if the bias is from female young group leader, but just young group leader.
Or that
might be.
No, but it's true.
Right.
We had a discussion that perhaps, I don't know again if it's supported, but whether men are less, they know it's more risky to go also with a young PI, and we had this kind of discussion is whether in general on the whole population could we have this imbalance because boys might be more keen on looking for a high profile lab with experience. I don't know, this is the kind of thing we thought about and said maybe there might be a bias in this perspective, right?
So maybe statistics would be useful.
Yeah, this I think of course would be very useful.
Because the other thing could also be that women feel more comfortable with a PI that is a woman, thinking that there will be more of an understanding. True. So there could be a trend in this direction to begin with. The issue about young PI versus more advanced PI and the risk, I don't know that. It would require to have actual numbers to really say something. Because I get the impression that women would tend to choose the place with less risk, perhaps.
Yeah, but in the end,
but maybe
we had this feeling with a lot of PI having this sense, no?
As already mentioned, Antoine, for the young PI, it's already difficult to find the good people, to hire the good people. So it might be difficult for the young PI at the beginning of the level to really put the gender balance as the priority when we recruit the people.
Well, but I think that the question of saying good people, so to speak, is difficult for everybody.
Of course.
So you do see it because you start and you're confronted perhaps for the first time. But I think it's the same because it's not because people approach you that they are good. And in some cases, you have more people that are not good, necessarily that good that do approach you, and you have to sort it out.
More choice. But
so I think the issue of choosing people is a difficult one, no matter what.
No, but it's true that when you have less choice, you have the feeling that you will choose less, but it might not be
maybe you have
easier.
Less candidates, you have the level you expected.
But with that respect, another aspect is also to try to work more together in the way we do the hiring. And I think that is actually very useful to have the opinion of different people. So when you interview people, trying to get other people that have no interest, because in some cases maybe you want so much to find a person that you don't want to see the problems with that person, and you may end up with someone that is not great, but just because you were a bit desperate. But it's better not to take anyone than to take someone that would be the wrong match. So having other people without that bias giving you their opinion can help you.
Sorry for asking. I know for when hiring PIs that is a common practice of having active searching practices. Would that make sense for PIs or young PIs to do active search?
We do.
Yes, please. I think it would make a lot of sense. I think that's actually something that I felt wasn't stressed so much, but I felt it was a very important point that was raised at the last LIPA workshop, that actively approaching postdocs in the later stages would be very, I think, would be a very useful thing.
Students or postdocs?
To recruit group leaders or to recruit
I'm
postdocs
sorry.
for your group?
No,
I think it could go both ways. That would be for PIs, but like perhaps it could also go,
But it's
I just want to mention, with that respect, for PI, it's something that we have really discussed and would like to implement in the context of EU Life. So that's definitely there. But I think at another level, which is the recruitment of postdocs in your lab or PhD students. So I think for PhD students it's easier in a way because we have now the system with the PhD program, so there's a structure for the recruitment, so that can help. We don't have that as yet for postdoc, and it may be something to think about for the future.
But even for a PhD, I think there's much room for improvement as well on how we do it.
Because we don't have enough funding, so it's only for a limited number. That
but even for these, we would. I think we need to really stress the way we feel important.
Yeah.
But in practice, it's not always the case, but it's often that when you know someone who's a PhD student who's going to defend and who could be a good asset for your lab, you kind of go to talk to that person and try to convince that person.
or on the meetings.
I think
we see the posters of some great student, and then we say, okay, what are you doing after? Consider coming.
Exactly. So to me, this is the best approach. Is really meeting with people when you go to conferences, discussing with them their work at the meeting, getting to talk to their PI, and you get a good feel.
Okay, so this was about recruitment, which I understand is, of course, extremely relevant, particularly for young PIs. And on some other ground, I mean, challenges, things which are relevant to you, if you wanted to add, I don't know, about other aspects.
I think you mentioned the work-life balance, right? I would say that's one of my top challenges as a young PI, because I really saw a big shift from postdoc to before and now in terms of how do you balance and how do you go home with all your, I don't know if I'm the only one, but because I usually had a lot of time for my private life, but having young kids and so on, and it's true, it's really, I think that was one of the toughest challenge. Try to separate both or try to have the things that less, impact. Going to work and forgetting about the rest is easy, but the other way around I found it harder.
You just don't forget. That's the trick.
You never forget.
No.
So I have a feeling, and our job is specific to that. I mean, I didn't choose this job because it was, hours, and it's because the thing I do, I love it. So it's kind of a real challenge. I mean, to go home and try to integrate that in your personal life. I think is hard.
You particularly have problems with long hours?
No, just go home. I go home, not that late. No, it's taking not the work, but it's in your head. Because I really have for me, I cannot work after some hours, so I don't work late or anything, but it's just in your head. Rather in your head, and you want to think about it, either the problems of the group or the science itself is in your head. It doesn't get out that easy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the only geek here.
You can spend the entire weekend.
And you think about it, and then it goes out, and then it comes back in. And when it's science, you don't think it's interesting, exciting, right? But it's, taking your head, so...
And it's also because it's
exciting
interesting to you, it's exciting that you just keep thinking
But
about
it's also true, I mean, I agree with you, but I kind of cope with this, that this is kind of part of my life. Even if I go home, I talk science. But also, it's opposite true. If when I'm at work, I also think about my kid, if he's sick or something.
If he's sick, of course, but if you don't, I have a way of, of course, if there's a problem, of course I do. I'm not a confounded.
It's kind of intermixed for me. It's like really mixed that I don't separate.
No, I see a
and
bit
I kind
of
of give up on
disequilibrium,
separating.
I think, for me, but it's personal. Yeah.
And do you also share this kind of, does someone else share this kind of worry?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I'm living with that and I like the life I have, but indeed it's very present even in when I'm home and constantly, not constantly, but very often thinking about science and or people in the group and people outside the group. If I didn't like it, I would just stop it right away.
Yeah, me too. I'm not suffering. I'm just saying it's I think kind of a question.
Yeah, I think sort of So, I mean, thinking about science, like during the weekend and something, that's not, I